You're watching lawmakers questioning Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin about the failure to quickly communicate his absence during his December hospitalization. House Republicans want to know whose decision it was to keep his health issues a secret. Austin says he never directed his staff to hide his hospitalization, and there was ever any gap in the chain of command. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, along with senior national policy reporter Ann Flaherty for more. Jay, there seems to be some bipartisan agreement about these issues with the lack of transparency and how serious they are. How significant is that?
Yeah, we'd heard concerns from both Republicans and Democrats about concerns over transparency in that it took Austin a number of days before he notified the White House of his hospitalization and also of his cancer diagnosis. That's something that Republicans and Democrats agree on. What Republicans and Democrats do not agree on is the scale of concern here. You can tell that Republicans really wanted to ask Austin some pointed questions just by the structure of this hearing. They led with Jim Banks, not the chair of the committee who typically asks the first questions in a hearing like this, but instead the chair yielded his time, and the first questions to Austin were from Jim Banks, who is perhaps Austin's most vocal critic on this committee. He has called for Austin to resign over this issue and a number of issues. So look, Republicans have said they believe there was a lapse in command, meaning that when Austin was in the hospital, his deputy wasn't fully in control. That is something Austin strongly pushes back against. But you can see the partisan divisions starting to show there when you talk about the scale of concern that lawmakers have here.
And we've heard Secretary Austin repeat a lot of things that he said before, that he never intended to keep his hospitalization from the White House or anyone else, that there was no gap in the chain of command. So what questions are still left to be answered here?
Well, of course, the lawmakers are going after who actually made this decision. And I think it's clear from listening to the defense secretary that the decision was his. He says that he takes full responsibility for not informing the White House and that he's made now changes to make sure that that doesn't happen again. What I thought was interesting was when Jim Banks was questioning him, he didn't show any emotion. He just, flatly said the president has full confidence in me. And he defended his staff. He said that nobody acted with any sort of ill intent. So clearly the responsibility of this falls on his shoulders. He knows that. He's going to sit there. It's going to be a long afternoon for him. And then we're going to wait for the defense IG report to come out. That's the investigation that's underway at the Defense Department, where we expect to see more details.
Jay, how tricky is that line for the defense secretary to say, ultimately this was my decision, but then to also say, I didn't tell staff to keep this quiet?
Well, it's interesting. It's a tough line for him to walk for a number of reasons. One of them is that when you talk about that issue of his staff, we've heard lawmakers, as you and I were talking about earlier with that Senate briefing yesterday. This is a proceeding in the House. There was a Senate classified briefing on this earlier in the week, not yesterday. Senators and other lawmakers have expressed concern about what level of culpability Austin's staff may have had here. Austin's line is, look, the buck stops with him. The decision was him. The lack of transparency emanated from his decision-making, and therefore he should shoulder the blame. And there are lawmakers who said while they do blame Austin for a lack of transparency, they also blame his staff, because when Austin went to the hospital, it was on his staff, some of these lawmakers say, to make that notification. As Ann points out, it's very difficult in a body like the Department of Defense to run around your boss and make a notification that he hasn't made himself. So that's somewhat of a not reading of an exactly reality of what probably would have occurred here from lawmakers. But nonetheless, that's a tough line to walk. The other thing that's worth keeping in mind in this hearing as we go into the day is this line we're already seeing emerge from Democrats, which is if Republicans are concerned about the message this sent on the world stage, as many of them have said they are, then why are they not getting behind this package of aid for Ukraine and for Israel that's already passed the Senate and is right now being stalled and not put up for a vote by Republicans in the House? That's something that Democrats are already pointing out and saying is hypocritical.
All right, Jay O'Brien and Flaherty, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.